The third time when I knock him down, I was coming up through the middle, then over the top, to bring his head up, because he was doing that, and it's just, look at the gap that's there. Superlet were brilliant at it. He kept grabbing Rodtang's arms and pushing back on him to stop Rodtang being able to plant himself and throw power shots and elbows, because he was busting Superlek up with elbows. And when Superlek started doing that, that allowed him to be able to get the long knees off. This was the perfect tactic to land long knees, because Superlet landed plenty in that fight. It's completely different fighting in both of these gloves. You can look at just the sizing on both of them. I've had 120 fights in my career. I'd probably had around 114 fights in these 8-ounce gloves before I then went over to these, and it was a lot of trial and error, because when you've got a glove this small and this hard, and trust me, it is hard. Anyone who's fought in these gloves will vouch for how hard they're like bricks. You can't really spar in gloves like this. A lot of the stuff that's been going on and all the mistakes that I made in these gloves was all on the night in the ring, and it had been, like I said, trial and error. I'd not had any experience in them, and I was still doing a lot of the things that I would usually do in these gloves, but it just didn't translate over, and I learnt the hard way. You can't really hit pads in them, because, especially for a fighter like me who's had hand problems throughout the career, you're going to hurt your hands if you start trying to whack the pads in these gloves. Like you just said then, you can't spar in them, because you can do nice and light stuff, but this leather on these gloves is so hard. It only takes one shot that's just a little bit too hard, and you're going to cause cuts, you're going to cause marks on your face, you're going to hurt your hands. So it is a lot, like I said, a lot of the learning process is all done on the job, on the night, in the ring. In the 8-ounce gloves, you're usually going to get 5-3s Muay Thai. It's a bit of a slower pace starting out wise. You'll see the pace go. It scores slightly different as well. The stadium style scoring and things like that. Whereas you come down to this gloves, 3 rounds, 3 minutes, all action. There's no feeling out process, because if you start too slow, you're going to get clocked to one of these, and it only takes one shot in a glove like this, and it's going to literally put your lights out. There's lots of different variations of guard where you can use in 8-ounce gloves that you can't do in this. There's different styles of catches and things that you can do in this glove, but you can't do in this glove. It is quite a different sport, really, when you think about it. Don't get me wrong, it's the most exciting sport on the planet, because it's all action, there's lots of knockouts, and it's vicious. However, it is a totally different sport to 5-3 traditional Muay Thai, in my opinion. Okay, so basically, the main difference is the different styles of guard that you can do in the 8-ounce gloves that you can't do in these 4 rounds. And again, I found this out on fight night when I made a mistake and I got fucking dropped. In the 8-ounce gloves, you can bumper up here. You'll see a lot of people, they'll just cover and they'll bumper up. Now, if we're here and I bumper up and Andy throws a left hook, and if I can't do like this, if I'm here, it's going to hit me around the side, there on the chin, yeah, bang. If I go too far here, it might hit me on the front, on the temple. You've got to have that perfect if you are going to eat. Like with the 8-ounce glove, you can literally just cover up, you can cover here, don't have to worry too much. With this, all it takes is one wrong. If I go too far forward and I think a hook's coming, bam, I'm getting it there. If I think a hook's coming here and it really comes to the front and I do that, boom, I'm going to get it there. Trust me, these gloves are rock hard. They are going to cause damage, especially for a fighter like me who's got scar tissue all over their eyes, and Andy. If it hits you on the eye, this glove, and you do this and it connects here, it's going to bust you up and it will literally rip your skin. So that's the first main difference there. You can't afford to just cover up like this. One of the best defenses I found is if someone is just start swinging there. One of the best defenses, they have a hook's coming, would just come straight forward there. Try and meet it with an elbow through the middle. And again, do not do this and go bop and leave a gap, because that'll come straight over the top as well. You have to be so. I'll tell you who's good at guarding like this, Haggerty. He's really good. He can really do this one quite well, because he's always trying to spear an elbow through the middle. Well, he used to do in his older style. So that's probably one of the best. When you're fighting someone who's coming in swinging, keep tight here and try and elbow through the middle to put them off. Like I said, one wrong movement here or there, or even if I do that there, that right hand can still find, that's just doing that. It takes one wrong little mistake, where instead of doing that, you just do that, and that, bop, we'll find a gap through. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one, this is where I messed up. You will see this in the Rodlek fight. And I've also, a few times, when I knocked Muay Thai down in the Muay Thai fight, Muay Thai were doing it as well. It is so easy. 8-ounce gloves Muay Thai, one of my favourite guards to use is long guard. and I've done it all my career. So when you've done something your entire career in 8-ounce gloves, and then you get in the ring for the first time like I did against Rodlek in 4-ounce gloves, for you to then be told, remember, don't do long guard. And you're like, shit, I've done it my whole career. Don't do long guard, don't do long guard. But what happens in a fight, you go into autopilot sometimes. In the Rodlek fight, you will see I absolutely smashed his leg to bits. And midway through round 2, he changed his stance and he'd gone his leg back here. From here, what he did, he threw a hook and I went to do long guard and it hit me right on like the ear and the back of the head there, and I just had to take an 8 count as I was going down. He fucking booted me right in the face as well, which didn't help. But he hit me right on the ear, and that was just because usually if someone went to southpaw, what I'd do in long guard, I'd try and do that a little bit so he couldn't hit me, but because I just didn't have my hand quite there, like with the bigger glove, it's easy to just do that and you'll be covered. You can cover your whole face like that. But what he did, I only got my glove to there and he hit me straight on the ear, and as I went down there, he then kicked me in the face as well, and I had to take an 8 count for it. But again, I was winning that fight to that point, and it was just one stupid mistake. When I got up, I lost the rest of the round, but when round 3, I won round 3 pretty easy. If it wasn't for that, I'd have won that fight. And it's just one stupid mistake like that. But it's so hard for someone to tell you not to do something when you've done it all your career for 20 years. And especially with me, what I'd like to do in the 8-ounce gloves, when people start punching me, I'll long guard and then I'll kick the leg, boom. But you can't do that, because even then when I just did that, Andy just hit me straight. He just hit me straight on the head, because it will always find a way through. Now, in the Muay Thai fight, I think it was the 3rd time when I knocked him down, he was trying to do long guard and I was just whipping uppercuts and shots around the side. The 3rd time when I knocked him down, I was coming up through the middle, then over the top to bring his head up, because he was doing that, and it's just, look at the gap that's there. In the 8-ounce gloves, long guard quite easy, you've got bigger surface areas and you can cover yourself up, you can turn your elbow in a big glove. If someone goes through the middle and I don't turn my elbow in enough, you're still gonna get that. That glove wouldn't come through. So again, long guard is a big no-no. You see a lot of knockouts on the Friday shows with this as well. Well, you'll see Thais just try to long guard and they don't quite get the range right or the arms in the right position. I have seen it work, but it has to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, stuff will happen to me like it did in the Rodlek fight, or to Muay Thai like it did against me in that fight. It's just not a guard I would advise using at all in 4-ounce gloves.
Do you know what's a big thing with the small gloves and the big gloves as well? Like you were saying, even with long guard there, even if they're hitting you on the top of the head in the little gloves, it messes your equilibrium up. Whereas with the big gloves, you can take it, you don't feel it as much, but you get caught with these little gloves, and even like just top of your head and around the back of the head, you feel it.
Even with them, now you feel that. Yeah.
But with them, you just like, boom, you're used to it because of sparring and things like that. But these, any little shot anywhere around top of your head, even on like your skull, you're just like, fucking hell, what's going on? That makes a big difference as well, like mentally as well, more than anything else.
I'd have my arms eyebrow height, just so if I need to cover a cam, but you need to be in a position where you can slip your head. The best thing to use in 4-ounce gloves Muay Thai, which is why the Russians are very, very good at it, good footwork and good head movement. You can't plant yourself and stuff, which is what I like to do. And it was, you know what, I'd have got away with doing it if I was still in my prime, and I could, because back then I could have fucking walked for anything, but now, I'm no bones about saying I can't take the damage I could take in my 20s. No fighter who's nearly 40-year-old can take the damage, especially in these. So for me, but do you know what? I'm happy that it didn't happen like that as well, because my career would have lasted about fucking 2 years, the way I fight. You know what I mean? So yeah, the best thing, nice tight guard. You'll see the Russians, they're nice and light on the feet, and there'll be fakes and there'll be head movement. That's the best way to fight in these, and this is why all the Russians in the Eastern Bloc had that such good success. This is why Haggerty was so good when he first bounced on the scene, because he was in and out. He wasn't just planted, he wasn't taking damage. It's that type of style. It's more like, it's like kickboxing with elbows when you're fighting these gloves. That's how you have to fight. You have to be light on your feet. You have to be ready to move your head. You have to be setting fakes and traps up. You can't just be planted unless you're an absolute fucking brick like someone like Rodlek is. Rodlek's, he got away with doing that just because of how tough he was. But yeah, you just can't stand there like that. You need to be able to be in and out. You need to be able to move your head and stuff like that. When you're watching One Championship and stuff like that, they want action, they want knockouts. It's on TV, it's on primetime TV, Prime in America, it's on Sky Sports. They want knockouts. So when you get in the clinching knees, if you don't start working straight away, And if you don't start kneeing, if you don't start looking to elbow, if you start trying to throw them or do something, they will break it up straight away, okay? Obviously, there's lots of differences with your grips and everything like that, but most people in the gyms, they will clinch like this with no gloves on anyway. Like, you get some gyms that'll clinch with gloves on, but most of your clinching and done throughout your career has been with no gloves on. Most gyms in Thailand will clinch with no gloves on. Most gyms in the UK will as well. So there's not much that's going to change there. It'll just be like you're clinching in the gym in training. Obviously, when you're in these type of gloves, it's a bit difficult to get nice and locked up and like that. This one is. You'll see a lot of people that'll be using the hand this position as well here. If someone does grab you around the neck, it is easy to open that palm of your glove and really push their arm away and then look to elbow and things like that. We don't have to spend too much on this because, like I said, it usually gets broken up pretty quickly if there's no action going on, and it's pretty self-explanatory what will happen because you've done all the clinching in the gym with no gloves on, so it'll just feel exactly the same to that. The one thing that you will see a lot of, there's a lot of like, if Andy comes to grab my head here and I cover there, this makes it so much easier to land elbows straight up through the middle like that as well. Whereas if you've got a bit bigger gloves on, it's a bit more difficult to find that space. Okay, so distance management. This is where it gets tough because there's certain things, again, that I'd be a bit wary to do in these and the different distances and stuff like that. Now, first things first, distance. In the 8-ounce gloves, I would not be afraid to throw a kick from this close, yeah. But in the 4-ounce, if Andy throws a kick from this close, it's going to be easy for me to bang to counter with them hooks. And you see a lot of people just getting that wrong. You need to make sure if you are going to throw a kick, you are out of range. So do it again, kick me properly. You are out of range, yeah. So I'm not going to be able to step in there. You'll see a lot of people, they'll just try to lift the kick up. So even if he lifts his right leg up from there, they're still going to get caught with something. So do not kick unless you know you are completely out of punch range. And that goes for low kick as well. If Andy throws a low kick and pulls his arm down, by the time his leg's coming back, I'm going to be there straight on his chin, yeah. So you have to be, like, if he kicks me from there, I'm going to be far away, yeah. So he's going to get away with it. But obviously for stuff like that, do not kick if you are too close because there's too many gaps to get through there. And like I say, even if Andy keeps his hand there at the side of his head, look, when he throws a left kick, I can see, there you go, I can still land straight on his chin and his ear from there. So I would only kick when I'm like, say, I'll kick you. So when I'm this far away, boom, I can kick, nothing can land there, yeah? Boom, nothing can land. I'd kick from that type of distance. Like, whereas I'm here, if I skip and Andy throws a hook, I'm gonna get it, yeah? So again, distancing on the kicks, important. Second thing, long knees. I have knocked out so many people when they try to left knee me just by going boom, there. It's really dangerous. And
with big gloves on, you've knocked them out.
Yeah,
so with little gloves, there's no chance.
Yeah, and that's with big gloves. So when you see people trying to do this in 8-ounce gloves, that's what happens a lot. Okay, so I would not throw a long knee unless I really knew there was not a chance on earth. Maybe I've hurt him to the body and then I'd bam afterwards or something like that. But if we're just stood here and I just step into long knee and I try and grab his arm, it's just leaving yourself wide open. It's just going to give him that chance to land that hook. Now, going back to the distancing, you'll see this in the Superlek and Rodtang fight. Superlek were brilliant at it. He kept grabbing Rodtang's arms and pushing back on him to stop Rodtang being able to plant himself and throw power shots and elbows because he was busting Superlek up with elbows. And when Superlek started doing that, that allowed him to be able to get the long knees off. This was the perfect tactic to land long knees because Superlek landed plenty in that fight. But that's because he was grabbing his wrists, pushing him back, and then he was able to knee him while he was doing it. If he only just pushed on his hands without grabbing his wrist, and he'd still be a swing outside, look, bang. He was really grabbing his wrists and controlling so he could knee him and stuff like that. So that'd be a nice tactic. But then again, for someone like Superlek to do it against Rodtang, that just shows that the level of it he is. I wouldn't suggest trying to do something like that if you're new to these gloves whatsoever.
What's the risk in that?
Well, when we're here, if I try and reach and mess it up, look, I'm gonna get clobbered with something. Or if I try and reach and Andy just steps back, step back as I got to reach. You see, it's got to be done perfect. Superlek did that perfect because he wasn't scared to stay in front of him, and when he could grab him there, he could then knee him. He was trying to then elbow him himself. So it was a perfect tactic that. For that
IQ level as well of someone like Superlek who's had like what 200, 300 fights as well. It's a different game, innit?
Yeah. Going back to what I was saying about the kicks as well, do not try and underhook trap too much. I'm just going to take the glove off. Now, when you underhook trap, see this, how much this covers my face. If Andy throws a left head kick up there, yeah, that covers my head a lot. Now, when I put this on, this doesn't really cover my head at all. This is still showing. In the Muay Thai fight, like an idiot, I tried to do that in the first round, but I didn't keep my glove here. I put it back there because I just had it in my head that I still just thought, oh, it'll be the same thing. I left all this side of my face open, and when Muay Thai threw the kick, his shin hit me straight on the front of the chin. And that's what knocked me down the first time in that fight. And again, it was just something so simple as for years and years, if someone throws a head kick, my favourite counter has always been trap and then bang straight down the middle of the right punch.
Drilled into you, innit?
So as I saw the kick coming, and then I thought, right, I'm going to do that. And because I went like that, it hit me on the front of the chin, and the next minute I felt looking up at lights thinking, what the fuck just happened there? Like, what's gone on? But again, it's just something so, like, if you look here, if that kick comes up there, look, it's going to be so easy just to touch on your chin still if you don't do it correctly.
Even then, a big difference with it is, like you say, the padding in that glove. Yeah. You don't mind taking it, but with these, you are literally just, it's just all on you. Yeah, it's all across your chin.
And the thing is as well, even if you do put your hand from here, I did it here in that fight and it hit me on the front of the chin. But even if you put it forward, it can go around back of your neck. So it's a dangerous one, especially if you step, you'll get away with it. But if you forget to step and the kick comes and it just hits you there, whether your hand's there or not, that's going to stun you as well.
More the case with these little gloves is it is just a boxing match now with a few kicks and elbows thrown in. So everyone is developing the boxing skills more. You see a lot of them actually using good head movement now. And I think that's the main thing with these little gloves. You need head movement. You need to be a really good boxer, because if you're not on your point with your hands, they're the ones that cause more damage than anything else, really, in this now.
Yeah, 100%.
See more knockouts with your hands than anything else.
Yeah, if you're going to cross over to 4 rounds, you need to implement some good boxing training, which implements not only some quick, fast hand combos and stuff like that, whilst keeping tight, but also implement some good footwork, some in and out footwork, so you're not going to, like we discussed earlier, you're not going to end up just stood there and planted and let it come down to 50-50 who lands a bomb first. So yeah, you need to have a good boxing coach who not only understands boxing, but understands boxing for Muay Thai. You can't have just some random boxing coach who's going to make you do stuff that'll work for boxing, but then that might get you elbowed, it might get your legs kicked, it might get you swept and off balance. You need to have a good boxing coach who understands both of them. We're lucky here because we've got John Gillies, who I train with in Liverpool, and Andy's boxing coach, Al, he used to train Thai boxing for many years himself, so he understands what will work. So our fighters are lucky here, and especially the ones who are going on to 4-ounce gloves like Fergus, he'll have a good coach who's going to tell him what will work and what won't for that style. So.
And we've all, like myself, you,
we've all
fought one and fucked it all up.
Yeah, so. We've fucked it all up already. So these kids will, having said that, none of them fucking listen to us anyway.
Yeah, no listen to us.
So yeah, so first off, get some good boxing coaching in there. Get some head movement and slips in there. Richard likes using the sticks and stuff like that. I'll have shin pads on and he'll use the sticks, and it'll be me moving my head, and then I'll kick back to the legs, I'll kick him back to the body, but he'll still have to make me move.
Richard's good with the gloves on as well. He puts the little gloves on, doesn't he, and has a little move with and stuff like that.
But so that's probably one of the main things to do. Get some good level boxing implemented into your training. Have a play around, just get used to the different styles of guard, just some nice light play, sparring, no harder than that, just so your eyes get used to it and you get used to what works and what doesn't, stuff like that. And it'll just get you used to slipping a bit more, using your feet to go in and out a bit more, covering a little bit better and a little bit more efficient and stuff like that.
What about transitioning back and forth and going back to the 8-ounce after fighting on the 4-ounce? Because you can't fight the same way.
I fucking loved it, mate.
I
loved it. Yeah, I loved it. I won't lie to you. I punch hard enough. I've knocked out 50 plus people in 8-ounce gloves, do you know what I mean? So I punch, it don't make a difference what gloves are on my hand. I can still knock someone out. What does make a difference is like not having to worry about I don't have to think when I'm in 8-ounce gloves. I'm in autopilot. I'm doing what's natural to me. I'm doing what I've done my whole career. When you're in 4-ounce gloves, I'm still thinking all the time, thinking, oh shit, I can't do that, I can't do that. That's the worst thing a fighter can do, is think. Everything should be on reaction and should just be happening naturally. All your thinking's been done in the gym. But even when you're in 4-ounce gloves after having that many fights, in the big ones, you're still thinking, might start to do a long guard, and then I go, oh shit, I can't do that. You know what I mean?
You see a lot of people with the little gloves on take a jab and just go, shit. The realisation of actually getting hit with these gloves on as well makes a massive difference. You'll see it in fights, they'll be all right, and they'll be having their own way, and then one shot, and they're like, fuck. It changes the whole thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe to the channel. If there's anything you think we've missed or want to add below yourself from your own experiences, drop that below as well in the comments. If you want to go a little bit more in depth into this 4-ounce gloves defense, what to do and what not to do, I will be adding a section on this on Liam Harrison Training as well.